Good morning, soccer aficionados. Welcome into Edging a Win, the only soccer show, betting show here on YouTube. It has no rhyme or reason. There's no standard of what's going on each and every week, but we do produce winners nonetheless. We're with you here again, live back on Saturday mornings, and it is going to be a great morning, and I know, 100% this week we are going to give you four winners, absolutely four winners that are not going to be able to be tested. We're going to do it this week. We don't have any more parlays, but you can parlay all four of these bets in. Before we get into our best bets, I gotta welcome in the man of the show, the face of the program. Please welcome in knower of all things football, expert landscaper with a concentration in pitchside shrubbery, and the man who came back with a tan from Oxford, England last weekend, Mr. Ian Allen from Ian OUFC. Ian, how are you today?
I agree with all of it, apart from the tanning. Fantastic, Matt. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Just great to be back here live again. Another great weekend of soccer ahead of us. Look, everything's finished in the EFL apart from the playoffs, and those playoffs started fantastically with a huge win for Peterborough last night, if anyone would have seen that. But still got an amazing weekend of football in the top leagues across Europe. As you said, we're going to give you loads of winners. But quickly, I remember spending about 6 months in the Caribbean, and I'd come back and my mates were more tanned who'd been in Oxford during the winter than me in the Caribbean. So that is how unlikely it is for me to ever get a tan.
It's true. We call him Casper. All right, well, we have a fun show lined up for everyone, and hey, make sure you stick around to the end where I try to go 4 straight weeks without losing an MLS bet. That is how good it's going in the MLS picks. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button. Go check out all our social media pages. They're there listed on the screen. If you see something on the ticker you want us to talk about, put that in the chat. And if you have any other questions during the stream, feel free to chat with us. We're here to engage with you, the viewers, and really help you learn and educate more about how you can bet on soccer matches. But without further ado, let's get into Ian's top 3 best bets of the weekend. And we're going to start, of course, in the Premier League. What do you got here, Ian, to start off?
Yeah, we're starting by looking at Southampton versus Fulham. Just starting about 10 a.m. your time. Looking at over 2.5 goals. In this game, we're looking at the bottom of the Premier League in the relegation zone. There is a live game at the moment, Matt. What is the score?
It's 2-1. 2-1 Newcastle over Leeds. A 74th minute right now.
So that is a huge game which Leeds United did need to win if you're going to think they're going to have to try and stay up. And thinking about another side that needs to win today, Southampton. They are in danger of being the first side relegated from the Premier League this season. They need to win their last 3 games to even give themselves a chance of staying up. So the Saints have to go for it today against Fulham. They are capable of scoring goals, as we've seen in their most recent games, but it's also capable of conceding goals. And it seems almost impossible for them to keep clean sheets, which is probably the reason why they're down the bottom. They come up against a Fulham side who don't really have a lot to play for, but continue to play pretty good football every week. Marco Silva's side haven't given up. They're not down tools. They're not on the beach. Hit 5 past Leicester on that crazy Monday where there were 21 goals in 3 games. What? So don't think Fulham are going to go there and got nothing to play for. I think there will be goals in this one. I actually think Fulham are going to beat Southampton and pretty much put the final nail in that coffin. I think it's going to be something like 3-1, 3-2 to Fulham, something like that. But it's definitely going to be goals. So that's why we're going for over 2.5 in this one.
Yeah, and Fulham really does have a good offense. I think they're probably an underrated from a fair weather fan perspective in the Premier League. They're probably an underrated offense that not too many people know about. Talking about Southampton, though, and they're on a list with Crystal Palace, in my opinion, on teams that I will just never bet for because I cannot stand them. But
Don't say that.
Crystal Palace and Southampton and Bournemouth. I'm going to add Bournemouth to that as well. But Southampton, listen, they have been terrible this season. They are going down to the championship. What are the chances that they bounce right back up into the Premier League after next season?
Difficult one to say. I mean, I think it's going to be. I think they got a pretty good chance. I would say. I don't. I look at this squad, and the main players they're going to lose are probably going to lose James Ward-Prowse, who's their captain, who's far too good for this Southampton side, and he won't be playing in the Championship at all. And then probably like someone like Mohamed Salisu at centre back, pretty good defender, good scores goals from the back as well. So that they won't. I don't think they're going to lose a whole host of players. You get a good chunk of what we call parachute money when you go down to the Championship, and that's to try and kind of cover the costs of not being in the Premier League anymore. So that normally helps those relegated sides bounce straight back up, like we saw what Burnley have done from the season before. They stormed the Championship this year. So I would say if they make the right managerial appointment, then they've got a good chance, because that is really where they've fallen down this year. They had Ralph Hasenhüttl at the start, who was like this guy that had been there a long time, this safe pair of hands. They took the gamble of getting rid of him, brought Nathan Jones in, who was absolutely terrible. And then they brought like this guy Salisu in from Spain. And he's basically got, well, he didn't really have much of a chance of like being able to right the ship. And they've not really improved. And you kind of think, well, you might as well have just stayed with Hasenhüttl and you might have been better. But so they got to get that appointment right. But I think I would say they'll be one of the favourites to go straight back up.
Classic English culture, they fail and they get more money. Nothing like what the Americans do over here. Parachute money.
If you look at like from why they brought that in is because there's sides that went out of the Premier League, and because they're paying so much money for wages, the clubs nearly went out of business.
Yeah.
So they had to find a way of supporting these clubs. You saw sides like Man City in the past, Wolves, and other sides drop out, Sunderland, drop out of the Premier League and then drop straight down into League One because they just had to gut everything out. And so it was a way of just trying to avoid teams from getting into a real financial hole.
Yeah, to me, all I hear is it's the equivalent to like how the NBA wants the best marketable teams to be in the NBA Finals, like Lakers and Celtics. So all I'm hearing from you is they just want the better teams up.
I don't want to do these next two bets. Let's just talk about LeBron. What a player.
Don't even get me started. All right, we're moving on. We're going to look at La Liga, and that is going to be, I think, tomorrow, Sunday. We got a good one. What are you looking at in La Liga?
Yeah, it's a bit of a David and Goliath one, if you like. 10:15 in the morning your time. We're going to Elche versus Atletico Madrid. We're looking at Atletico Madrid -1 on the spread in this one. And quite frankly, because Atletico Madrid have been in amazing form. In the last 10 games, they've won 9 and lost 1. And the only one they lost was to Barcelona, who are the runaway leaders. And that was just a really game where, for some reason, they just didn't turn up. But they've been a really, really impressive side this year. Usually they're known as being a very boring side to watch, very stubborn, tough to break down. They grind out results. But this season, they've been a lot more expansive, a lot more fun to watch, and arguably probably the most fun side to watch. So it has been a bit of a breath of fresh air. Elche are bottom of the league. They are well out of their depth in the Liga. They've been completely outgunned by virtually everybody. I think it's a really good price still on Atletico Madrid to go there and rack up a big victory. Elche have only managed 2 shutouts, 2 clean sheets this season, so I can't imagine that they'll be able to stop this Atletico Madrid side from scoring. So I see it will be a comfortable win for Atletico, who try to cement second place in La Liga.
Yeah, a quick score update. Leeds did tie it up against Newcastle. It is 2-2 in the 80th minute here, so not all's lost. Not all's lost.
There we go.
So listen, Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid, those are the 2 teams we know from La Liga here in the States, or the fair weather fans do at least. Atleti currently second in the league, and they're on course at the moment to finish above those neighbors of Real Madrid. What's the difference this season in their style of play, and do you think moving into next year they actually have a chance to win the league?
I actually think they could do. But what's been weird is no one really saw this coming. Diego Simeone is like so stubborn with the way he's played this Atletico Madrid side for years. And he's had so much success being a very pragmatic, backs to the wall, we're going to literally kick the crap out of you for 90 minutes and then nick a 1-0 win. Everybody hates us, we're against the world. And it's weird to see them playing good football. And it's really down to a change of style. They used to play 4-4-2 religiously, and now they've changed that to play like a 5-3-2, 3-5-2. And it's those wing backs that have given them this natural kind of energy to the team where they're still solid, where you've got like 3 or 4 or 5 players sat behind the ball. But then as soon as they win the ball back, they've got this ability to break at pace down the wings. And then you've got 2 front players in Griezmann and Morata, especially Griezmann, so intelligent with the way they play, the way they can drop deep, the way they can pull defenses apart with their movement and create space. And really, it's a mixture of that change of tactics and with the players that they've got who are very versatile and can play virtually in a number of different positions, that they're able to open sides up and they're able to attack teams from a variety of different places where they never used to be able to do that before. And I think if they bring that forward into next season, maybe strengthen it up a little bit as well. I think they could be right up there challenging. For all the plaudits that Barcelona and Real Madrid get, I don't actually think either one of them have been that impressive this year in La Liga. So I definitely think Atletico could be challenging, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I mean, they're all really playing against Barca. And so, I mean...
Yeah, but Barca have been good this year, but Barca have been very, just been very resolute. They've not been, going out and smashing sides. They've been very good defensively, and they win a lot of games to 0, 1-0, 2-0 sort of thing. But whether they can carry that on, they need to make some changes. I don't think they've got a huge amount of money to strengthen that squad as well. So it'd be interesting to see La Liga next season. It could definitely be a 3-horse race between Barcelona and the 2 Madrid clubs.
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point. My only argument to that with Barca is the fact that, they have a 13-point lead. I mean, to me, I think they're phoning it in for a while here. So some of these results recently, I'm not sure if it's 100%, on par with what if it was a 1-point lead,
Whatever. I'm right, you're wrong.
All right, so that'll do it for La Liga. Madrid -1 there on the spread. Best bet number 3 coming from Ian. Let's round it out with some Serie A. Juventus, they've kind of been a mixed squad this season as well. What do you got in this one?
Yeah, they have been a weird team, haven't they? Yeah, but they're finding some good form at the end of the year and could finish with a really good season. Juventus versus Cremonese, Sunday, 2:35. Eastern time, over 2.5 goals we're going for in this one. All the talk this week in Italy has been about Napoli as they finally won that Scudetto trophy since 1990. First time they've won it, and congratulations. They've been easily the best side in Serie A this season. But Juve have kind of snuck up into 7th place. I think the last time we really spoke about them on a best bet, they were down maybe in 5th or 6th. So they've really jumped up quite nicely. A mixture of them being consistent and a lot of the other sides being very inconsistent in that top sort of fight for Champions League places. And so they'll be hoping to finish 2nd place. They're still in the Europa League semi-final. Really tough game against Sevilla. They managed to just nick a last-minute equaliser to take that into a 1-1 draw going into the away game at Sevilla this week. I do think that might be that they rest some players now for this game against Cremonese. Cremonese, another side down the bottom, looking to avoid relegation. But they are a side that are showing some fight. They've only lost 1 of their last 6. They've proved they can score goals. They're not the best side at defending set pieces, and they're not the best side at defending counterattacks. So I think that's Juventus' strength. But I do think this Cremonese side couldn't cause Juventus some problems, especially if Juve rests some players. But I do think Juventus will come through it, maybe 2-1, 3-1. So we should hit this over on that one. And it is still pretty well priced as well.
Yeah, Juventus has been a weird team. I'd like to see them come out and score 2 goals in the first half. They haven't done that much for a team that should, in my opinion. But I do want to take a moment and talk about Napoli. Amazing scenes. They won last week, the league. I won't even mention, though, how I hate that and the fact that none of these games mean anything moving forward in the league. But what do you think about Napoli and taking just an easy control of winning Serie A this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's been about, the story has more been about their celebration rather because this has been something everyone's known they're going to win it, and it was just It got a little bit nervy because every time they got to the point where they could win it, they seemed to like mess it up. And so it was nice to see them finally get over the line and win the trophy. But my God, what scenes of celebrations. You never seen anything like it. It was like kind of a whole week of non-stop fireworks, non-stop parties, non-stop parades. It was a real celebration for the eight, the sort of thing that would be saved for the Cleveland Browns winning a Super Bowl.
I was just about to say that. It has nothing on when the Cleveland Browns win the Super Bowl, that we will absolutely be on top of the world. We will blow everything up in the city of Cleveland.
Yeah, I think it will be a whole tour of America. But look, Napoli as a city, they've always had this kind of mentality of like the rest of that. They see themselves as a little bit separate from the rest of Italy. They kind of see themselves as like the outcasts, if you like, and the rest of Italy doesn't really like them. So they've always had this kind of chip on their shoulder, and they celebrated it like as special as it should have been. Really, they really went to town. It was great to see all the kind of images of people did with like Diego Maradona, like obviously superimposed onto like celebrating with this team was fantastic. And you know, it sort of shows you that how nice it is to see sides that don't win it very often win it.
Yeah,
like, we're so used to the same sides winning the league every time. So when you do get somebody new, it is extremely refreshing.
Yeah, kind of like Wrexham. Also, speaking of scenes, I don't want to get into this too much, but the Champions League, the scenes of that was pretty amazing.
Well, that's a very weird dynamic, because there's a lot of teams in Italy, and the Milan, I don't know if you know this, but they play in the same stadium.
Yeah.
So like you have that situation as well with some other sides. I think you have that with Roma and Lazio as well.
Yeah.
Where and so it's a very weird dynamic where you've got these two sides so it's basically two home games for them. And so it is this really, it does create this like very, very unique situation in Italy, which you wouldn't get in anywhere else, where you've got two city rivals that play in the same stadium playing against each other. And as you're right, the atmosphere was crazy.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it was very fun to watch. And speaking of around the world kind of games, that's a nice segue into what else. Those are three great bets. I bet them all. Before we get to MLS and my MLS bet of the week, what else do you find around the world that you're kind of intrigued by this weekend, Ian?
Yeah, well, we're just getting into the final few minutes of this Newcastle game. It's still 2-2 in that one. That could be huge for Leeds if they can get a winner in that one. But other than that, let's just go through the top runners and riders in the Premier League. Obviously, you've got Everton versus Man City on Sunday. Everton showed some signs of life. It'll be interesting to see what Man City side turns up to play Everton, because obviously they've got this huge semi-final against Real Madrid. So that will be interesting to see if they do rest some players. Arsenal come up against Brighton. Also, all Arsenal can do is put pressure on Man City and hope that they mess up. It's a difficult game because Brighton have been good, but that could be a fun one to watch on Sunday morning. Chelsea versus your beloved Chelsea, versus Nottingham Forest. That game kicks off just under an hour now, just under 40 minutes till that one kicks off. Talk about teams I don't know how to predict. Chelsea. I mean, now all of a sudden they got that win. I wouldn't be surprised if they go and get another good win today against Nottingham Forest. That's far too good of a team.
Or they lose 6-0. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Nottingham Forest desperately need that one. And then Leicester versus Liverpool on Monday could be interesting. That's another one that could basically effectively relegate Leicester. Liverpool are in fine form, trying to hunt down Manchester United for this final Champions League place. So that is a lot of stuff going on in the Premier League. Germany, it's those top two tussling it out. Bayern Munich, both got pretty easy games today. I would say Bayern Munich at home to Schalke, Borussia Dortmund at home to Borussia Mönchengladbach. I really wanted to put that in the bet because I wanted to see how you would pronounce it.
I wouldn't have.
The odds were horrific. So heavy favourites for both the top sides in Germany. Real Madrid versus Getafe and Espanyol versus Barcelona in Spain. But other than that, just make sure you check out these playoffs in the EFL, League One, Championship, League Two. they can be really fun games to watch, very unpredictable. We saw that last night with Peterborough beating Sheffield Wednesday 4-0. So check those out. And then, of course, we have Champions League semi-final second leg. Man City won, Real Madrid won from the first leg. And then you have Inter Milan, AC Milan, 2-0 to Inter after that first leg. And the semi-finals in Europa League and Conference League on Thursday. So you've got another whole week of football lined out for you. So go and enjoy it. It should be fantastic.
Yeah, this is the time of year that these are important games all around, with the exception of Serie A. But
yeah, I mean, that Europa League game, Sevilla-Juventus, that is going to be a really tough game. Sevilla made that home stadium like a very intimidating atmosphere, and Manchester United just crumbled when they went there. So it'll be very interesting to see if Juventus can stand up to that test. But yeah, what a good week ahead, Matt.
Yeah, actually, the one I'm intrigued by the most is the Germany, Munich and Dortmund, because can Dortmund maybe somehow, some way get back into an opportunity to jump Munich? It doesn't look like it. And they had their chances. They did earlier a couple of weeks ago, and they just blew it. So we'll see.
This weekend probably not. But I'm just gonna have a quick look.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I looked, and I don't think there's anything too pressing that Munich's going to be scared about in the last few weeks. But
Having a quick look.
We'll see.
So. But I mean, Leipzig at home, that could be potentially tricky, but yeah. Leipzig are a very side that usually crumble when they put a bit of pressure on them.
Sure.
And Bayern Munich away at Cologne. See, Cologne have kind of got themselves safe now, so that's not really anything they're playing for. So yeah, going to be surprised if Bayern drop points that Dortmund need them to, but it would be great. I hope that Dortmund can do it. It'd be fun to see.
Well, that's a lot of great world soccer news and 3 best bets from Ian, but now we have to get into what is considered, in my opinion, the best league of soccer, not football, soccer, in the world, and that is the MLS. And first, we got to talk about our beloved St. Louis City SC team. They had an interesting weekend. They played FC Dallas, went into the first half 0-0, came out to massive thunderstorms, and after about a 2-3 hour wait into the wee hours of the evening, that game was abandoned. Then you would think they would have fresh legs, having only played about 50 minutes of a match, and they go into the round of 32 on Tuesday in the U.S. Open Cup against the Chicago Fire, and they lost 2-1. A little bit of a problem at the moment that I think the entire league has figured out. And that is, when Klaus is not in the lineup, they have no offense. And St. Louis, on a short week, will play the exact same team, the Chicago Fire, again today at 1 p.m. Eastern. And there's no guarantees that Klaus is going to play. In fact, I don't think he is going to play. But even if he does not play, you cannot lose 2 straight games against one of the worst teams in the MLS if you want to be a contender.
Yeah, they're making some stupid mistakes in defense as well, aren't they? They just gifted Chicago a goal early doors, like really sloppy play. And then the second one was just messing around with the ball at the back, and really gifted them that second goal to kill it off. But I've also heard that that game against Dallas has not actually been abandoned, and they've had to keep 11 players back in Dallas just there, ready at any time that game could kick off. So just be that any time, day or night, that game could go.
Well, so quite honestly, Klaus wasn't one of the 11, so at least we'll have a shot.
Yes.
Now, before I've
seen that before, though, when you have sides that play 2 games back to back, you rarely get the same side winning 2 games in a row. So hopefully that means good things for St. Louis today. And they're a great price if you want to back them.
They are. Minus 120. No, that's you can get them +1, I think, at minus 120 today, if I'm not mistaken. Now, listen, before I get into week 12 of the MLS and my over bet of the week, I did learn a couple things from last week. And number one, a team that we have not really talked about at all is Charlotte, an expansion team from last year. listen, they can be good if they want to be good. They knocked off New York City FC last week. Then they went to beat Orlando in the U.S. Open Cup. They play Atlanta this week, another decent team on the road. Mark my words, if they get a point out of this game in Atlanta, Charlotte is going to make the playoffs, and they'll be the last spot come the end of the season. Also, things that I learned, Miami has now won 2 in a row, and everything points to Phil Neville, and now the overreaction of will he not be the manager for the rest of the season. I think it is solidified. His friend, the owner, David Beckham, they're on good terms now. And Miami, I know it's only been 2 matches. I think they make a run at the Cup this year. I think this propels them into a playoff spot. And I think that's going to be a hard spot in the middle of June and July to go to at 100 degrees in Miami to play. So I think they have a little bit of a home field advantage. And the last thing that I learned in week number 11 is down go the Goliaths. San Jose beat LAFC last week and took down the only unbeaten squad left in the MLS. And the league worst, Sporting KC, took down Seattle on the road 3-1. That was two unbelievable results against 2 good teams. And you know, Ian, who benefited from both of those losses?
Tell me.
St. Louis SC. St. Louis SC. Because those are the other 2 top teams in the West. So all 3 of the top teams went down. Well, I guess our St. Louis SC was in the U.S. Open Cup. But not a great week for the top teams in the West right now.
Yeah. Mrs. Grandstand Bedders must have been pulling her hair out at that Seattle loss.
100%. So that was last week. That's what I learned. Let's look at week number 12. And there's only one game of intrigue, in my opinion. And that is, speaking of Inter Miami, that is them taking on the New England Revolution at home this week. And New England, Ian, has to be embarrassed coming into this matchup. They lost 1-0 at home to the Pittsburgh Riverhounds from the USL Championship Division. The question is, can they bounce back from that loss? Well, it's going to be a good segue here because this is my over bet of the week. We're talking Miami, New England, over 2.5 goals today. I absolutely love this bet. The better, New England's going to take some anger out this week on a Miami team that hasn't been stellar for the better part of the season. And now on the road, New England, they do have a defensive team. They don't let up many goals on the road, but I think with Miami cooking here lately, I think in the last 2 weeks with those wins, they put up some goals here. And I see a 2-2 draw here today. And if I haven't sold you yet on this over, and Ian, I know I never sell you on the over, just know that these two teams...
You're doing a good job this week. Sorry, you're doing a fine job this week.
These 2 teams, they have never played each other and gone under 2.5 goals.
Nice.
So, take Miami, New England, over 2.5 goals at 7:30 Eastern tonight. And if you actually parlay all of our 4 bets, you get that at plus 1,100 odds. So, if you do parlay that, that's good.
I imagine there's a lot of you out there, the thousands that are listening to this, by that know very little about the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, but you could just hear the way Matt said the name, the tone of disgust in his voice that tells you they're not a very good side.
Well, listen, yeah,
one of those huge cup upsets.
They're not a good team. It was very embarrassing, especially at home for the New England Revolution to lose that. And, maybe from a mental standpoint, that gets in their heads. I mean, they're in first place.
Maybe that gives them that. Maybe that puts revenge in their mind.
It does. I think they're going to go out, and I think they're going to take care of business, or at least put up a few goals against Miami. Listen, we do have a couple minutes here before we sign off. Ian, I know you don't have any parlays anymore because the EFL has closed for the season. But I have to ask you, and for our viewers out there, we all know you're an Oxford United fan, and you had the pleasure of going to sunny Oxford, England last weekend. And I have to know, you attended the last game of the season, and Taylor Swift and myself have to know, are you the problem?
I think I might well be, yeah. It was actually, that was probably one of the highlights of the game. It was a fantastic, a beautiful day in Oxford last Sunday. In fact, when it was, yeah, lost 2-1 to Accrington. 1-0 up early. Should have scored a load more. Missed a hatful of chances, like we've done so many times this season, and then inexplicably give away 2 goals. So that season is over now. I don't need to worry about Oxford United until August time now. I can relax and just not get so stressed and worried about it. But Oxford news, folks, go and back Oxford City in the National League South playoff final today. So the other Oxfordshire side climbing up, trying to get into the National League, the same league that Wrexham have just won. They could be the next Wrexham, Matt. Go on, you hoops.
Well, if they're the next Wrexham, then you and I are Ryan Reynolds. And we will take over that team. Listen, I'm excited, though. Oxford stayed up, quite honestly. It'll keep our fun rivalry between Wickham and Oxford going for another season. But, yeah, I mean, between those two teams, which one's most likely to go up next year?
What a question's that? Oxford, of course.
Okay.
Wickham a horse. I don't know if I can swear. I'm going to swear. No, I'm not going to swear. Wickham a horse beep.
All right, that'll do it. Hey, listen, thanks for everybody for watching this live stream here. We'll be back next Saturday. Our programming will get a little bit different, I think, as we go into late May, early June. We might take some weeks off if there's not much going on, but we do have Women's World Cup coming this summer, so look forward to that programming. Go ahead, Ian.
So stay up late for that one because most of the games kick off like 3 a.m.
Yeah, we'll be live at 2:30 a.m. Eastern time for all your Women's World Cup needs. That'll do it, though, for this weekend. We will see you live next weekend, 9 a.m. Eastern time, which I believe is 1 p.m. Oxford, Sheffield time, right? 2? It's 2. Okay. All right. That'll do it for us. Everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy some soccer. Enjoy some football. And we will see you next time.